It's a $45 million mega mansion.
Okay, I've actually shown this property to a client. I will tell you what's wrong with it. I'm Arvin, Haddad, the luxury realtor that shows you how to buy a mansion. I'm going to point out the flaws in MrBeast houses, so when you buy your mansion, you won't make the same mistakes. Let's go.
Why does this house cost $1?
Yeah, we get another storm. It's probably going to go into the water. So it's worth $1 for me to just to get rid of it.
That's too expensive for $1. You know why? Because you still have to pay the property tax for it, and you have a huge liability. And guess what? The insurance companies are not going to insure this property. So imagine these kids getting in there and hurting themselves. Who do you think is going to be responsible? This guy. I wouldn't pay $1 for this house. No way.
Oh, this is sketchy. What are the odds I fall through?
Pretty high.
Bro, these are wobbly. I like how that chair is just like...
This is actually staged really well. I'll tell you why. Look at this.
We have a recliner, a mattress, and half a floor.
I can literally fish from inside of the house. Yo, I caught one.
See? Staging is supposed to make you comfortable so you could imagine yourself living in there, and this staging for this shack is actually working. This guy started fishing in there. That's good. That means he's comfortable. If you want to sell your house for the top dollar, you better stage it. People don't have the visualization to do it.
Now that you see us having fun, do you regret selling it?
I do not.
What if I gave you $2 to buy it back off me?
No.
All right, I tried.
You know, that's actually a thing companies do to save money on their taxes. It's called double Irish with a Dutch sandwich. Imagine you got 2 piggy banks, and then you pay someone else to move your own money from one of your piggy banks to the other piggy bank, and then back to the original piggy bank. But because you pay them a fee, you end up paying less in taxes.
Later in this video, we have a house that costs 100 million times more.
And it's got $52 million of debt. We're gonna get to this.
Speaking of which, we're at the $1 million house. Which technically means you need to be a millionaire to buy this house.
False. You don't have to be a millionaire. You need to have the deposit, which is as low as 3% up to 20%, so $30,000 up to $200,000. But most importantly, you need a job that will qualify you for the loan. And that would be around $270,000 more or less. Now, let's take a look at the house. This is pretty nice for $1 million.
When you pay $1 million, you get a pretty good sized kitchen, along with 4 bedrooms that look normal. But they keep going, because this bedroom has a closet here, which leads into a bathroom that is bigger than the $1 house.
Okay, so far so good, but having to go to your closet to get to your bathroom is a negative. It's a privacy concern for both spaces, and even more so in this case where they don't even have a door separating them.
And even though the bathrooms are all stocked with bidets,
I don't know why more people don't get bidets. They're so inexpensive. It's like $50 you can get one, and you can install it yourself. It's super easy.
oh snap, they have a movie theater.
Dude, these chairs are massage chairs.
Wait, what?
Okay, I wasn't expecting a movie theater, but let's be honest. This was a storage room. They added a step and put really nice, comfortable recliner chairs on it, and they're calling it a movie theater. I'm not really getting AMC vibes over here, but again, it's only $1 million. It seems like it's a good deal, but you never know. Don't get tricked by the price. It depends on the location.
On top of the movie theater, there's also an arcade. I was not expecting all these features from $1 million.
Yo, this house is awesome.
Did you notice that the basement has windows? Do you know what that tells me? That this lot is on a sloped lot, meaning entry level is not level with backyard. You have to come down to get to the backyard. Now, in East Coast, that wouldn't be a big deal, but in Los Angeles, where we spend a lot of time outdoors, it would be a big deal.
I'd have so much more friends if I owned a place like this.
I think you have enough friends.
And ending with the pool, which comes complete with...
Oh, look at this. Did you notice this screen room? Okay, this property has to be in the East Coast because it has a screened-in porch at the entry level where you don't have to take any steps. And guess what? You're probably going to use that porch more often than the backyard because of the weather. But what's absolutely ridiculous is this water feature. It seems like they first wanted to create a water slide so the kids could take it to the swimming pool, but then they realized the slope is just not high enough, so you can't catch enough speed and you would get stuck into it, and they just turned it into a water feature, which would give you a lot of liability. Horrible.
Overall, I'd say this was a pretty fun house to live in. But of course, we're all here to see the richest of the rich. And that's why up next we have the $15 million house.
Okay, this property sold at the peak of the market, but the owner listed it again for sale at the same price. It sat on the market for 501 days and it did not sell. And the reason it didn't sell is in this frame. Can you spot it? I'll tell you in a few seconds.
Jeez, man.
I don't belong here.
This looks like the house that you try to get to.
Did you spot it? Privacy. You see these properties all around it? Look into the property. At this price bracket, privacy is everything. And the way this house is situated on the hilltop is at the corner where all the other sides of the hill are looking into your backyard. And that's a major, major negative in the high end.
Pool is much smaller than the $1 million house, but you can literally oversee all of LA.
Okay, this is actually a pretty weak view for Hollywood Hills. It's very narrow. It's not panoramic whatsoever. The angle is really tight because the houses next to you are looking into your property, and you don't really have a focal point center. You have, Century City in the right, and you just don't have that wow factor. You have a very tight city view. Overall, I'll give this view a 6.5.
And an incredible underground view of the swimming pool.
Okay, this feature probably helps sell the property, but guess what? Developers know this. They put these gimmicks into the property for you to fall in love with it and overlook all the flaws that the property has.
For the $30 million house. This extraordinary 16-bedroom estate has 4 different buildings.
This property is actually pretty cool, but you should know that it's now listed for $16 million and it still hasn't sold.
In the main house, there are multiple living rooms, but this one is the best of the living rooms in this property.
Oh my God, I love this room. This is how you give scale to a traditional property. Look at how many exposures this room has. A lot of natural light coming in. The scale, the volume is fantastic. It's not even furnished that nicely. It's really old and dated. And this is what you should pay attention. Ceiling heights, volume, natural light. Don't fall for the gimmicks.
This is grand.
What is this?
The Oval Office.
What book would you expect here besides The Way to Wealth by Benjamin Franklin?
Bro made the light bulb and a book?
Well, Edison made the light bulb, not Ben Franklin.
What the hell did Ben Franklin do?
I'm gonna read this book.
Ben Franklin in 1748 bought a parcel of land in Pennsylvania where he built his printing business out of, which became very successful, which enabled him to have enough free time to do everything else that he did in his life. He invested in real estate.
Past the living room and the office was the grand kitchen, where the owner had left a little gift for us.
Wow, I don't think I've ever seen a kitchen with 5 islands. This is massive. Look at the scale. Look at the ceiling heights. Look at the spacing between the island and the counters. Very comfortable with 5 islands. You got the ceiling heights. You got the natural light coming in. This is very, very impressive.
Next door is a garage filled with exotic cars. This looks like a garage out of a video game.
They got Lamborghinis on top of Lamborghinis.
Okay, I think the car collection is more expensive than the house.
I don't think I would ever leave this next building. This is awesome.
Okay, this is not just an indoor tennis court. It's a ballroom. You got a stage over there. You got bars over here. You got seating arrangement over here. And I bet you when they throw massive parties, they redo the floors so you don't see the tennis court. But when you see it in this format, it looks like you do have a tennis court in your living room, which is crazy.
Look at this. This is an indoor water park.
Whoa. It's like a whole nother world in here.
Okay, I think this is going to be my favorite house out of all of them. Now you're thinking $16 million. Arvin, that's a really good deal. It's below its replacement cost, but that doesn't mean it's worth it. Do you know why? It's the A++ house in a D- neighborhood. So the buyer for this property has to come from one of the big metropolitan areas, which is about an hour and a half away. You could use this property to shoot movies, TV shows, commercials, or events. And in between them, you can Airbnb it.
We're gonna enjoy the water park. I'll see you at the next house. The only bad news is it's across the entire country. The good news is it's a $45 million mega mansion.
Okay, I've actually shown this property to a client. I will tell you what's wrong with it.
Whoa. Oh my gosh.
This is like the most open house I've ever been in.
He's right about that.
This is quite possibly the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. So I called in multi-billionaire Mark Cuban to help us out.
How much do they want for this house?
45.
That's actually pretty good instincts by Mark because it's now listed for $28 million and it still hasn't sold.
Not worth it?
Because it's Brentwood, that's probably half of it.
Nope, that's incorrect. The dirt value of this property is worth around $5.9 million. The reason why this property hasn't sold is that it's not in a good location. It's far away from the prime locations within Brentwood. And also, this developer pretty much makes identical looking homes with identical finishes all over Los Angeles. And I can tell you, in the ultra high end, they don't want a carbon copy of their house in another neighborhood. Plus, there's a little bit of privacy issue. There is a property right above this house that kind of looks into it and it's under construction and it's in a major fire zone.
Up next, we have a house whose price point happens to be a funny number. And now we are at the $69 million mansion.
This developer makes the stupidest looking houses I've ever seen. All his properties have an extremely hard time to sell. Now this one, probably the same thing's gonna happen to it.
The reason why this weird looking house can still go on the market for $69 million is because it's filled to the brim with priceless art and sculptures sourced from all around the world.
That's incorrect, because I don't think the art and the furniture is included in the sale. But even if it is, you should separate the two transactions from each other, because if you don't, you're artificially increasing the sales amount and you end up paying property tax on the total sales amount. But you're not paying property tax for the property alone. Now you're paying taxes on the art and the furniture of the property as well every single year. That's a horrible idea.
Another reason why this house is built so strange, for example, having to walk across sky bridges to get anywhere, is because it's been meticulously built to be able to withstand the force of a real tsunami. I mean, you gotta admit, that's pretty cool.
No, I don't think it's cool. I think it's actually a pretty stupid idea to live in an extremely ugly house. So in the event of 1 in a million, a huge tsunami comes, your house will survive. That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. If you're planning to buy an architectural property, the number one thing you should pay attention to is how well the houses that that architect has created have resold over time. That's what you do with art. You should do exactly the same thing with architecture.
The final house, or should I say, the $139 million,
Arguably most luxurious house on the planet, mega mansion.
This massive 36,000 square foot mansion has things you'd never see in any other house. From a nightclub, to a T-Rex, to an entire robotic car elevator, this place is going to blow your mind. It's hard to describe just how big this mansion really is. It has 12 bedrooms and 17 bathrooms.
Can you spot the flaw with this property? I'll give you 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Look how small that backyard is. And it's not even a natural backyard. They've just put caissons and square footage everywhere. The main reason why this property hasn't sold is that it doesn't have any good backyard and is far away from the city.
Everything in this house is built out of the most expensive materials on the planet.
Not true. They're not the most expensive, and actually they're not curated to the buyer pool in Los Angeles. This is built for a taste of a European or a Middle Eastern or an Asian buyer, but not a Los Angeles buyer. It's another reason why this property hasn't sold in a long time.
This chandelier is over $1 million, and the ceiling literally started dipping because it weighs so many thousands of pounds.
That's actually poor planning. The architect should have taken that into account. That's not something you want to advertise.
And the rooms on the bottom floor get even better.
There's a whole other house down here.
I think this is literally an ice room.
They ran out of room ideas.
He looks so out of place. He's so uncomfortable. Like, this is not his scene.
What?
This is a locker room?
No one currently owns this house, so they put name tags of the few people on the planet that can actually afford it. Warren Buffett's worth like $80 billion.
Can you imagine Warren Buffett buying this? Like, everyone knows Warren Buffett is living in like a $900,000 house in Omaha.
This $2.5 million car elevator is one of the most insane features in the whole house. This house also had by far the biggest home theater I've ever seen in my life.
Do you see this green wall over here? Do you know why that is? Because the other property that I have a review on looks directly over here. And look at this property. Has been under the construction for ages. It's kind of abandoned. A lot of the rooms from this property looks into this property, which is also not ideal.
This is a primary bedroom over here. You can take a bath with no one, basically only yourself. But showering, you can fit an army in there.
The real reason this house costs so much. I'm pressing it.
Is this a screen?
It is absurdly large.
Do you see how small this swimming pool, this backyard is for $139 million? And it's not even naturally flat, it's caissoned out. Another major problem with this property is fire insurance. You're at the edge of the mountain hillside, and guess what? Fire moves up. So if this valley catches fire, which it has previously, this house will be up in flames in no time. And guess what? No one wants to insure ultra high-end properties in hills. If you want to see my favorite house, click right here. I'll see you guys in the comments. Take care.